Hello, welcome to our channel Learn to Score. In this video, we are going to cover sets chapter for class 10th. I hope you will enjoy the video. Please subscribe to our channel for regular updates. And if you like the video, please share it with your friends and give it a like. Thank you. Let us learn about sets now. Let us observe the following examples. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 and so on. These are what? These are odd numbers, right? So this is a collection of odd numbers. Let's take another example. A, E, I, O, U. These are what? These are vowels, right? It means A, E, I, O, U is a collection of vowels in English alphabet, right? Happy, sad, angry, joyful, confused. What are these? These are a collection of feelings of a person, right? 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13 and so on. What are these numbers? These are prime numbers, right? It means it is a collection of prime numbers, right? Cricket, football, kho, kabaddi, basketball. What are these? These are sports. It means it is a collection of names of sports. When you have observed all this, you can say one thing. All these are well-defined collection of numbers, letters, feelings, games, or some ideas, right? A well-defined collection of objects or ideas is known as a set. Set is defined as a well-defined collection of objects or ideas. Please note this definition. It means collection of odd numbers is a set. Collection of ovals is a set. Collection of prime numbers is a set. Collection of sports is a set, right? I hope you got what does it mean by a set, right? Let's try to understand now what does it mean by well-defined collection of objects. What does it mean by the word well-defined? It has two criteria. One is all the objects in the set should have a common feature or property. The second requirement is it should be possible to decide whether any given object belongs to the set or not. Let us consider the example of prime numbers, collection of prime numbers. The feature or the property we look for is the number of factors. For example, we know prime numbers have got only two factors, number 1 and the number itself, right? When I give you number 2, you will see what are the factors of that particular number, and factors of number 2 are 1 and the number itself, that is 2, right? It means it has got only two factors. Hence I say that it is a prime number. If I'm giving you 4, then you find the factors. Those are 1, 2 and 4. So you have 3 factors now. So 2 is the extra factor in this particular case, right? Hence 4 cannot be a prime number. It means when you take the example of prime numbers, the common feature or the property we are looking for is only two factors, and based on that we are in a position to decide whether a given number belongs to prime number set or not, right? So we are in a position to meet both the requirements to be able to say that it is a well-defined collection of numbers. Prime numbers is a set. It is a well-defined collection of numbers, right? Let's consider another example, collection of words starting with vowel. Here, the feature or the property we look for is the first letter has to be either one of these letters A, E, I, O, U. For example, if I give you word ant, A-N-T, ant. Then you say that it starts with vowel, hence it is part of this particular collection. If I give you ball, it starts with B, which is not part of A, E, I, O, U. Hence I say that it is not part of this particular collection, right? It means we are in a position to decide whether a given word belongs to this particular set or not easily, right? Let's consider another example now. Collection of tall students in your class. I asked you to make a set with the names of all the tall students in your class. The question you have now in mind is, okay, I can find who are the members, but should I put the names of people who are taller than 5 feet, or should I put the names of people who are taller than 5.5 feet or taller than 6 feet? So now if your friend is, let's say, 5 feet 2 inch, you don't know whether you can be naming him as part of tall students or not, right? It means this particular definition, collection of tall students in your class, is not a well-defined statement, right? Or the collection of tall students in your class is not a well-defined collection of students, right? Instead, if I say that make a set with collection of students in your class who are taller than 5 feet 6 inch, then you know that your friend of height 5 feet 2 inch is not part of this set of people who are taller than 5 feet 6 inch, right? It means this particular definition of collection of students in your class who are taller than 5 feet 6 inch is a well-defined collection of students, right? Now you got the concept. Let us now learn about naming of sets and elements of a set. Let's consider this example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, right? This is a set of natural numbers. It is denoted using capital letter N, right? Here what you see is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and so on. This collection is a set of all integers, right? Denoted using capital letter Z. We have seen this example already. B equal to square, rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram. I'm calling this as a set. The reason is that all these have got the same features, like 4 sides they will have and 4 angles, right? Based on that feature, I'll be able to classify. If you're given triangle, it doesn't fall into the set of B, right? Set B of quadrilaterals. What we have written now is set B of quadrilaterals, right? T equal to Tuesday, comma Thursday. I'm calling this also as a set. The reason is that it is a set of days in a week starting with letter T. Set T of days in a week starting with T, letter T, is what we have written now. T equal to Tuesday, comma Thursday is set T of days in a week starting with letter T, right? When you observe this, names of the sets are denoted using uppercase letters, right? In the first case, it is capital N. Here it is capital Z. Here it is capital B. Here it is capital T, right? So for other sets, you can use capital letters like A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, etc. The symbol shown here, the curly bracket open and curly bracket close with some things in between, denotes the set. Please note this point. For example, Tuesday and Thursday in this particular set are called elements of set T. Whatever we write in between the curly brackets are called elements of the given set, right? So in this particular case of set B, square, rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram are the elements. Please note this point. We can say that Tuesday belongs to set T. When you see here, you can say that Tuesday belongs to set T. That can be mathematically expressed as Tuesday belongs to set T. This is set T, and this particular symbol is called belongs to symbol. So Thursday also belongs to set T, right? Let's write that. That can be mathematically shown as Thursday belongs to set T as shown here. Monday does not belongs to set T, right? Because Monday is the day in a week starting with letter M, whereas set T has this particular property that has to start with letter T, right? That's why Monday does not belong to set T. That can be mathematically expressed as Monday does not belongs to T. So this is called does not belong to symbol. Please note this. 1 belongs to natural numbers, we know, right? Whereas -1 does not belong to natural numbers. I hope you got the concept. Let's now learn about ways to write sets. First one we look at is roster form. We have seen set of vowel letters in English alphabet as can be written as V equal to A, E, I, O, U in curly brackets, right? So this is set V. All the elements of set V are written in between curly brackets. You have noted that, right? When you write that way, it is called roster form of writing sets. When you write all the elements of given set in between curly brackets, then you say that I have written the set in roster form. B equal to square, rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram, we have written them in between curly brackets, right? So I can say that set B of quadrilaterals is written in its roster form, right? Set of prime numbers less than 13. If you have to write, you will be writing it as P equal to 2, 3, 5, 7 and 11 in between curly brackets, right? It means you have written set P of prime numbers less than 13 in its roster form. Please note this. A equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When you have written all those elements in between curly brackets, you say that set A of natural numbers less than 10 is written in its roster form. Now you understood the concept of roster form, right? You have to write all the elements in between curly brackets. Then it is called writing the set in roster form. Let's now learn about another form of writing the sets, that is set builder form. We have seen that set of vowel letters in English alphabet written in roster form as V equal to A, E, I, O, U, right? Let's write it in set builder form now. V equal to, open the curly bracket and put X, then colon, then X is a vowel in the vowel letter in the English alphabet, right? This can be also written in another slightly different way, that is V equal to X/X is a vowel letter in the English alphabet. When you write the set or when you express the set in any of these forms, you say that you have written the set in set builder form. When you write like this, what you say or what you read is V is a set of elements X such that X is a vowel letter in the English alphabet. V is a set of elements X such that X is a vowel letter in the English alphabet. This is how we read. Set of prime numbers less than 13 we have written in roster form as P equal to curly bracket open and close. In between we have written 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, right? This can be written in set builder form as given here. P equal to X colon X is a prime number less than 13. When you write in this way, you say that I am expressing the set in set builder form. Please note this. And it is read as P is a set of elements X, that is this particular X, such that this X is here, such that X is a prime number less than 13. A equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you write that in roster form, you can write it in set builder form as A equal to X colon X is a whole number less than 6, right? How do you read? A is a set of elements X such that X is a whole number less than 6. You want to say that X is a whole number less than 6. That is what comes here. Whereas this particular X says that A is a set of elements X. Please note this. If you have any confusion, again, relook at this particular concept so that it will be clear, more or less clear to you. Let us take a look at few problems now. Problem number 1. Write the following in roster and set builder forms. The first part of the question is the set of all natural numbers which divide 42. Second part of the question is the set of natural numbers which are less than 10. All the natural numbers that divide 42 are going to be factors of 42, right? Those are 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 14, 21 and 42. If you see all these numbers 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 14, 21 and 42 can divide number 42, right? In the roster form, when you write, you say that set A equal to, open the curly bracket and then write all the numbers 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 14, 21, 42 and then put the curly bracket close, right? This is how we write the roster form. In the set builder form, we write A equal to curly bracket open, then X colon. X is a natural number which divides 42 and close the curly bracket, right? Let's go to the second part of the problem. Natural numbers smaller than 10. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, right? In roster form, you simply write it as B, that is set B equal to, within curly brackets, you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? In the set builder form, you write it as B equal to X colon X is a natural number less than 10. I hope you got the concept, right? Let's go to the next problem. Write the set B that is equal to X colon. X is a natural number and X square is less than 40 in the roster form. It means X has to be a natural number and X square has to be less than 40. These are the two requirements to write the set B, right? It means B is a set of elements X such that X is a natural number and X square is less than 40, right? This is how we read the set builder form, right? So now let's see what are the natural numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. If I say that those are denoted using x, then x square is going to be 1 square, that is 1, 2 square, that is equal to 4, 3 square equal to 9, 4 square is 16, 5 square is 25, 6 square is 36, 7 square is 49, and so on, right? In our case, there is a requirement, x square has to be less than 40. It means you end up the thing here. When you count these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So it means here you have to consider first 6, right? 1 square is 1, 2 square is 4, 3 square is 6, sorry, 3 square is 9, 4 square is 16, 5 square is 25, and 6 square is 36. Now, x is a natural number and x square is less than 40. That collection is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? Now let's write that in roster form. Set B equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 written in between curly brackets, right? So this is what we are asked to write. Let's go to the next question. Okay, let's understand this. It can be written in any order. For example, I have written here 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, right? So you can write in any order, doesn't matter. So in the roster form, the order in which the elements are listed is not important. Please note this point. It can be written in any order. I have shown only 3 different orders to write, right? But you can write it in altogether different order. Still your answer is going to be correct. Let's go to the next question now. Write the set A equal to x colon x is a letter of word principal in the roster form. So letters of this particular word we have to see. So when you read this expression given in set builder form, you say that A is a set of elements x such that x is a letter in the word principal. Take a note of this point. X is a letter in the word principal. For example, P is a letter in the word principal, right? It appears here and here also. But you don't need to include both the times. That is the idea. When you are writing roster form, you don't need to include both the times because it says that X is a letter in the word. So all you have to write is the letters in this particular word principal. It doesn't mean that you have to write P twice, I twice, right? Like that. So letter X are going to be P-R-I-N-C-A-L, right? P has come twice, we have not included. I has come twice, that is also not included, right? So when you write it in roster form, you write A equal to curly bracket open, P-R-I-N-C-A-L and curly bracket close. As I said earlier, you don't need to stick to this particular order. You can write it in any different order. You can write L in the beginning and P at the end. Still it is valid. Write the set B equal to x colon x is a letter of the word mathematics in the roster form. So I read it as B is a set of elements x such that x is a letter in the word mathematics. X is a letter in the word mathematics. So M, if I include as a letter here, I don't need to include this particular M. That is the whole idea. So letter X can be written now as M-A-T-H-E-I-C-S, right? So this collection now you can write it as roster form, that is B, sorry, this is B equal to M curly bracket open M-A-T-H-E-I-C-S curly bracket close, right? This is set B. I hope you understand the concept. Let us now learn about types of sets. First, let us understand about empty sets. Write the set A equal to x colon x is a natural number smaller than 2 in the roster form. We know the natural numbers, those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and so on, right? The requirement is a natural number less than or smaller than 2. Natural number smaller than 2 is just 1, right? You have only one number, that is 1. So set in roster form, I write it as A equal to curly bracket open 1 and then close the curly bracket. So here I have only one element in the set A, right? Write the set B that is equal to x colon x is a natural number smaller than 1 in the roster form. When you look at this, natural number starts with 1, right? The smallest natural number possible is 1. It means you will not have any natural number smaller than 1, right? So I can say that no natural number smaller than 1 exists. It means in the roster form, I'll write it as B equal to curly bracket open and close without having any elements, right? The set B has no elements. Please note this. A set containing no elements is called an empty set or a null set or a void set. Please remember this notation. A set containing no elements is called empty set or null set or void set. So B is an empty set, or B can be said as a null set or a void set, right? Empty set or null set is also denoted using this particular symbol called phi. Please note this. This is a Greek symbol phi. When you write A equal to phi, then it means that A is a null set or empty set. B equal to phi means B is a null set. Number of elements in the null set can be now written as n of phi equal to 0, because number of elements in empty set equal to 0. Mathematically, you can represent that as n of phi equal to 0. Please note this point. Let's now learn about finite and infinite sets. Let's write the set A equal to x colon x is a natural number smaller than 10 in the roster form. We know natural numbers smaller than 10 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, right? You can write it in roster form as A equal to open curly bracket and then write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and then close the curly bracket. So it says that a set of natural numbers smaller than 10, right? Number of elements in this set are 9. If you count all these numbers, then you have total number of elements of set A, that is n of A equal to 9. Please note this. A set having countable number of or finite number of elements is called finite set. This is the definition of finite set. It says that a set having countable number or finite number of elements. Here we could count number 9, right? That's why set A is a finite set. Please note this. Instead, if you are asked to write the natural numbers, you can start writing from now and, forever you will be writing, right? That's what we learned when you learned about natural numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. And this is endless, right? And in the roster form, you can write it as B equal to 1, 2, 3. Actually, you can use capital N here instead of B simply because that denotes the natural numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and so on in the curly brackets, right? Can you count the number of elements in this particular set? You cannot count, right? Set B has uncountable number of elements. It means it is an infinite set. So the definition of infinite set is the following. A set containing uncountable or infinite number of elements is called infinite set. If you cannot count, or if the number of elements are infinitely many, then you say that set as infinite set. I hope you got the concept. Let's take a look at few problems based on this. State which of the following sets are finite or infinite. The first problem, we are given 5 sub-problems. Let's start with first sub-problem. That is x colon x belongs to n and x minus 1 times x minus 2 equal to 0. It means x belongs to n means natural number. X is a natural number. And you want to say that x minus 1 times x minus 2 equal to 0. Whichever numbers satisfy this particular requirement, then those natural numbers fall into this particular set. Then you can say whether that set is going to be finite or infinite, right? X belongs to natural numbers n and x belongs to the solution of this particular equation, x minus 1 times x minus 2 equal to 0, right? So this particular equation holds true when x minus 1 equal to 0 and x minus 2 equal to 0, right? So it means x equal to 1 and x equal to 2 are the solutions of this particular equation, right? It means you have now for this particular set, you have only 2 values of x that satisfy, right? It means set can be now written as 1 comma 2. Number of elements in this particular set are just 2. Hence, you can say that it is a finite set, right? Now let's go to the second problem. That is x colon x belongs to n and x square equal to 4. Means you want to have x, the element has to be a natural number and the element has to also satisfy x square equal to 4. So x square equal to 4 means x equal to square root of 4, that is going to be equal to plus or minus 2, right? It means you can have x equal to plus 2 or minus 2, right? But we said that x belongs to n. It means x has to be a natural number. It means minus 2 cannot be a natural number, right? Hence, x equal to 2 is only a natural number. If you count, the number of elements in this particular set is just 1. That's why it is going to be a finite set, right? Now let's go to the third problem. X colon x belongs to n and 2x minus 2 equal to 0, right? So x is a natural number and it has to satisfy the equation 2x minus 2 equal to 0, right? 2x minus 2 equal to 0 can be written as x minus 1 equal to 0. What I have done here is I have taken 2 as common factor out, right? So when you solve this equation, you can say that x minus 1 equal to 0, that means x equal to 1, right? So this particular set has got only one element, that is x equal to 1. Hence, it is a finite set, right? Now let's go to the next subproblem. That is x colon x belongs to n and x is a prime number. We know natural numbers are infinitely many and one can find even infinitely many prime numbers, right? So the elements that satisfy this particular requirement are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13 and so on. This is never ending series. So one can write infinitely many number of prime numbers, as I said just now. It means we cannot count the number of elements of this particular set, right? Hence it is an infinite set. Let's take a look at the next subpart, that is x colon x belongs to n and x is odd, meaning x has to be a natural number and x has to be an odd number, right? So the series, if you write, there will be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, and so on. This, since natural numbers are never ending, even odd numbers are going to be never ending, right? It means you cannot count the number of elements in this particular set. You cannot count the number of elements in this particular set. Hence, you say that this is also an infinite set. I hope you got the concept. Let us now learn about universal sets and subsets. Before that, let's try to understand use of diagrams to represent sets. If S is a set and X is an object, we can say that X may belong to set S or X may not belongs to set S, right? That can be mathematically written as X belong to S or X does not belong to S, as shown here, right? For example, if you consider set of, let's say, natural numbers, that is, let's say S, then X, if I say that X is 0, then X is not going to belong to natural numbers, right? 0 is not belonging to natural numbers. Instead, if I say that X equal to 5, it belongs to natural numbers. So that is what essentially it means. If S is a set and X is an object, X may belong to set S or may not belong to set S. Let's say that set A is defined as X belong to N and X is an odd number less than 10. It means X has to be natural number and X has to be less than an odd number, that too less than number 10, right? So you will write X equal to 1, 3, 5, 7 or 9. When you take any of these numbers, they will satisfy this requirement. These are natural numbers and these are odd numbers and these are numbers less than 10, right? So I write set A in the roster form as shown here, curly bracket open 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 and curly bracket close, right? This is set A expressed in roster form. That can be shown even pictorially also here. As you see, I have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 here, right? And I have drawn a line around 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And I am calling that closed curve as A, right? Set A is pictorially represented here in this figure by drawing a closed curve including all the elements of set A, right? Here, that is why I'm giving the name A here. If you observe, this has got this particular curve, has closed curve have got all the numbers corresponding to set A, right? 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9, right? Let's define set B, that is X belong to N and X is an even number less than 10. It means X has to be a natural number and X has to be even number and that has to be less than number 10, right? So you will have X equal to 2, 4, 6 or 8, right? These numbers are satisfying all the requirements. They are natural numbers, they are even numbers and they are less than 10, right? So let me write B equal to 2468 as set in the roster form. I can pictorially now show just by drawing a closed curve around these numbers 2, 4, 6, 8 and that particular one, the closed curve, I am naming it as B. It means it is set B, right? I hope you got the concept. Set B is represented by drawing a closed curve around the numbers 2, 4, 6 and 8, right? Now let's understand about universal set and subsets. Let us consider that your school cricket team has to be selected. It means you will be selecting the players for your school's cricket team from the children who are studying in the school, right? let's say that your team has to be selected from total 500 students of the school. The names of 500 students, if I write and denote that set as S, then pictorially you can represent it as S and a closed curve. Here you will be having names of all those students, right? We know that cricket team consists of 11 players. It means out of these 500 players, we have to pick 11 names, right? If I write those names and call that particular set as set C, that can be pictorially shown as shown here, right? Set C consists of some of the students from your total 500 students of the school, right? Those few people are here. So these are the players who are going to play cricket for your school, right? Now I can say that if S is a set and C is a set, C is a subset of S. Do you agree or not? Right? Because set S has got 500 student names, whereas set C has got only 11 student names, which are again from the total 500 students, right? That's why set C is a subset of set S. Please note this. That is mathematically shown as C is subset of S. This is subset symbol. Please note this. Let's say that we want to create a hockey team for school now. We have created cricket team. We want to now create a hockey team for school. Let's say hockey team also consists 11 students. But one condition I am posing now is I don't want to have players who are in the cricket team or the students who are in the cricket team to be selected for the hockey team. I want to have a different team from the cricket team, because and at the same time if you have a cricket match and hockey match, you don't know which player has to play for cricket or play hockey. So you don't want to have that confusion. That's why I said select 11 students different from the cricket team. Then if I take those names and denote that as hockey team set H, then pictorially that can be represented as shown here, right? As I said earlier, cricket team is different from hockey team, right? And as you have seen here, hockey team H is a subset of the total children in the school, or total students in the school, that is set S, right? Now you got the concept of subset. So we can denote that mathematically as H is a subset of S, as shown here. Set of students of the school denoted using S is called universal set, because all these teams, cricket team, hockey team, have been selected from that particular set, right? So S is a universal set and C and H are subsets of that particular set, right? So for universal set, typically symbol mu is used to represent. This particular symbol is Greek symbol, Greek letter. This is called mu. Please note this. Universal set is typically denoted using letter mu. And another point you have to note here is universal set is typically shown using rectangular box, whereas subsets and other sets typically shown using circles. Please note this. Let's further understand about universal set and subsets. Say that we want to study various groups of people of our country. So the total population of the country is going to be our universal set, right? That can be shown using rectangular box and denoted using mu. And let's say that I have a subset of that is set of students. That can be shown as a subset shown here, right? So S is a subset of mu. Set of farmers is also a subset of mu, right? And set of government employees denoted using capital G, that is also a subset of mu, right? So as I said earlier, universal set is typically represented as a rectangle and denoted using mu. Please note this. And here, interestingly, farmers group, students group, and government employees group, all these sets are sort of, away from each other. They are not overlapping on one on the other. For example, let's say that some students are farmers. Then this F set and S set will be overlapping, something like this. So let's worry about that as we learn about a few more concepts. But for time being, you have understood what does it mean by universal set and what does it mean by subset, right? Let's quickly recall real numbers. We learned about real numbers in the first chapter. We know that the numbers that are used to count objects are called natural numbers, right? They are 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. They are denoted using capital N. And when you have natural numbers and 0 together, those numbers are called whole numbers, right? That is denoted here. And when you have whole numbers and negative numbers like -1, -2, -3, 4, -3, -4, and so on, those numbers are called integers, right? That is shown using, denoted using Z. Integers, and when you add the numbers which are ratios of integers like 1/2, 3/4, -3/4, -5/10, and so on, all those numbers put together are called rational numbers and they are denoted using Q as shown here, right? And we know that there are some other set of numbers called irrational numbers. For those numbers, you cannot simply express them as ratio of integers as done here. So the numbers which can be expressed as ratio of integers are called rational numbers. The numbers which cannot be expressed as ratio of integers are called irrational numbers, right? When you put these two sets together, you have a set called real numbers. In this particular case, I am saying real numbers is the universal set. That's why I'm representing it as a rectangular box. Rest of the ones are simple closed curves, right? Let's take a look at this and now say what are universal sets and what are subsets. Here real numbers R is the universal set that can be denoted using mu in the context of sets. However, for the numbers context, we denote it using R, right? As you see here, Q, that is rational numbers, is a subset of R. And irrational numbers, that is denoted using Q prime, this is called Q prime, that is also a subset of R, right? As you see here, integers is a circle inside rational number circle, right? Or ellipse for that matter. So that's why I say that Z is a subset of Q, right? It means I can write it as Z is subset of Q, that is subset of R, right? As you see here, W, whole numbers, is subset of integers, right? That can be now written as W, which is subset of Z or Z, that is subset of Q, that is subset of R, right? Similarly, you can write it for even N. We know that N is a subset of W, right? Let's stop here and solve a problem based on this. Consider a set of vowels V equal to A, E, I, O, U. Also consider the set A of all the letters in the alphabet, A equal to A, B, C, D, and so on up to Z. Identify the universal set and the subset in the given example. As you see here, letter A belongs to V and letter A belongs to A also, right? Capital A. So similarly, letter E belongs to V and it belongs to capital A also. Means it belongs to both the sets. I is also belonging to both the sets, right? O is also belonging to the both the sets. And U belongs to both the sets, right? So we have seen all the elements of this particular set V belong to this particular set also, right? So now I can say that every element of set V is an element of set A. It means V is a subset of A, right? Every cricket player is a student, right? That's the example you can refer to. So cricket player's list or cricket player's set is a subset of school set. So similarly, now you can say that V is a subset of A. That can be mathematically shown as V is a subset of A as shown here. And A is going to be universal set, right? Let us further understand about subsets. Consider set C that has got elements 1, 3, 5 and set B that has got elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you see here, 1 belongs to both the sets, right? 3 belongs to both the sets and 5 belongs to both the sets, right? It means since all these 1, 3, 5 belong to both the sets, what we can say is every element of set C is an element of set B, right? Set B has got other elements also, but otherwise you can say that every element of set C is an element of set B. It means C is a subset of B. You can write mathematically as shown here. C is a subset of B. If you observe, 2 belongs to B as shown here, but 2 does not belong to C, right? It means every element of set B is not an element of set C, right? If you see 1 is an element of C, 3 is an element of C, 5 is an element of C, but that is not the case with 2 and that is not the case with 4, right? It means every element of set B is not an element of set C. In that case, we say that B is not a subset to C. Please note this. B is not a subset to C. That can be mathematically shown as shown here. This is not a subset symbol. Please note this. We have already said that phi or phi equal is an empty set or null set, right? You also note that since phi has got no elements, it is considered as a subset to every set. Please note this. There is no reason for doing this, but this is the convention. Since it has got no elements, it is considered as a subset to every set. It means it is a subset to itself. Please note this. An empty set is a subset to any set. It means empty set can be a subset to set C here, set B here, or set phi here. It can be a subset to itself also. Please note that. Let's understand about equal sets now. Consider set A that has got elements 1, 3, 5 and set B that has got 1, 2, 3, 4 and set C that has got 5, 3 and 1 as the elements. As you see here, 1 belongs to all 3 sets, right? 2 is belonging to only this particular set. 3 belong to all the sets, right? That is here, here and here. And 4 belongs to only set B and it is not there in other sets, right? When you see 5 is there on these two, but 5 is not there for set B. Please note this, right? If you observe, every element of set A is not an element of set B, right? Because 5 is missing. 5 is here, but 5 is not there in B. Hence, we can say that A is not a subset to B, right? Similarly, every element of set B is not an element of set A. For example, number 2 and number 4 are here. They are not part of set A, right? Hence, we say that B is not a subset to A. When you do the similar analysis for set B and set C, you can say that B is not a subset to C and C is not a subset to B for the same reason. 2 and 4 are not there as part of C and 5 is not there as part of B, right? Now let's consider set A and set C. We have seen the combinations of AB here and BC here, right? Now let's see AC. If you see, every element of set A is an element of set C, right? Here you have 1, 3, 5 and here you have 1, 3, 5 in different order. But we learned that in roster form, order doesn't matter. You can write it in any order, right? It means A is a subset to C. Since every element of set A is an element of set C, you can say that A is a subset of C, right? So similarly, every element of set C is an element of set A. Hence, I can say that C is a subset of A. This is what we have learned from the definition of subsets, right? But if you observe, set A and set C have same elements, 1, 3, and 5, right? Now I can say that set A is equal to set C, right? Means set A and set C are equal sets. Please note that point. That can be denoted using the same equality symbol. These are subset symbols. This is equality, means set A and set C are equal here. Whereas set A is subset to C here, set C is subset to A here. When you observe these three relations, you can say that when you have P which is subset to Q and Q which is subset to P, it implies that P is equal to Q. That is what exactly has happened here. A is subset to C and C is subset to A, right? That essentially meant that A is equal to C. I hope you got the concept. And as we said earlier, every set is going to be a subset to itself. Why? Because every set is equal to itself, right? Hence, every set is going to be a subset to itself. I hope you got the concept. Let's take a look at few problems based on this concept. Consider the sets A equal to PQRS as the elements. B is the set that has got elements 1, 2, 3, 4. Are they equal? Is the question. When you observe this, you can say that for elements of one set are completely different from elements of other sets, right? Other set. But we have just learned that for two sets to be equal, they should contain same elements. Since set A and set B do not contain same elements, we simply say that they are not equal. And mathematically, it is represented as A not equal to B. This is what exactly we are asked to do. They are not equal. Let's take a look at another problem. Let A be the set of prime numbers less than 6. P the set of prime factors of 30, number 30. Check if A and P are equal. The first thing is A is a set of prime numbers less than 6. Right? So Prime numbers less than 6 are 2, 3, 5. So I can write A equal to curly bracket open 2, 3, 5 and curly bracket close, right? This is how I write set A in roster form. Since we are done with set A, now let's see what does it mean for set P. P is the set of prime factors of 30. Prime factors of 30 can be written by simply writing their product as 2 times 3 times 5. The 2, 3 and 5 are the prime numbers. When you multiply all these three numbers, you are getting 30. It means 2, 3 and 5 are the prime factors of number 30, right? So if you write that set, P is going to be having elements 2, 3, 5. Now if you compare, elements of A and elements of P are same, right? Set A and set P contain the same elements. It means set A is equal to set P. They are equal sets. I hope you got the concept. Let us learn about Venn diagrams now. Consider universal set mu that has got elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And the subset A that has got elements 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. Pictorially that can be represented as shown here, right? A has got 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 and rest of the elements of mu are outside this particular circle, right? 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9 are outside the circle, right? They are within, all the numbers are within the rectangular box. That's why it is called universal set. Whereas set A has got 5 elements that are 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. Set A equal to ABCD and set B equal to CDEF. They can be pictorially shown as shown here. Set A has got A, B, C, D and set B has got C, D, E and F, right? If you observe, there are two elements which are common for both the sets, right? The pictures what we have drawn just now, a circle in rectangle representing the universal set and subset, and here the rectangle and two circles representing sets A and set B and the universal set. These are called Venn Euler diagrams or simply Venn diagrams. Please note this. Typically, these diagrams consist of rectangles and circles. Venn diagrams are used to represent the relation between sets. You see, A is a subset of mu that is shown using this particular Venn diagram. When it comes to this, A and B are two sets which are subset to universal set mu, and A and B share some elements common across. Those elements are C and D. So that kind of relations between the sets can be shown using Venn diagram. That's the whole idea of Venn diagrams. Let us learn about basic operations on sets now. To begin with, let's understand union of sets. Consider set of natural numbers that is denoted using n, which has got elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and so on. And another set that is called A, which has got only one element 0 as shown here. A set containing all the elements of n and A, if I write, that set will have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on, right? When you see this particular set, you may say that this is a set of whole numbers, right? Starting with 0, you will have numbers like 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and so on. Those numbers are called whole numbers, right? Set W is called union of sets n and A in the context of sets, you say that set W is called union of sets N and A, where N is set of natural numbers and A is a set which has got only one element, that is 0, right? You can pictorially represent that as shown here. N has got 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on as shown here, and A has got only one element, that is 0, as shown here, right? And symbolically, W can be written as N union A. It is read as W is N union A. Please note this, W is N union A. A set containing all the elements of two sets is called their union. Please note this definition. A set containing all the elements of two sets is called their union. Here, W has got all the elements of both N and A. That's why W is union of N and A. Please note this. Shaded portion of the Venn diagram represents the union of two sets. This is one circle with shaded portion and another circle with shaded portion. That shaded portion together is called union of two sets. I hope you got the concept. Let's solve a problem based on this. Let A is a set of elements 2, 5, 6 and 8, and B is a set containing elements 5, 7, 9 and 1. Find A union B. We said that A union B is the set containing all the elements of A and B, right? So now the union set is going to be 2, 5, 6 and 8, as is I have written A, right? When I start with B, in the B I have 5, 7, 9, 1, but 5 is already there in A, right? That's why I'm not including this particular 5, whereas I'm including 7, 9 and 1 as part of A union B. So now you see A union B has got 2, 5, 6, 8 from A and 7, 9, 1 from B. 5, which is repeating in both the sets A and B, is included only once. Please note that. Pictorially, you can represent A union B as shown here. A has got 2, 6, 8 and 5. B has got 5, 7, 9 and 1. Right? So their union has got 2, 6, 8, 5, 7, 9, 1. 5 is only included once. Right? A union B can be written in set builder form as shown here. X colon X belongs to A or X belongs to B. Here R is important. Please note this. Right? Let's go to the next problem, that is problem number 9. Let A be the set containing all the letters, vowel letters. Those are A, E, I, O, U, and B containing letters A, I and U. Show that A union B is equal to A. We know that A union B is the set containing all the elements of A and B, right? So A union B is going to be having elements A, E, I, O, U as shown here. Because A, I and U are already there as part of set A, right? And since A union B is set containing all the elements of A and B, we are not including A, I, U twice, meaning already since they are there as part of A, we are not including those letters from B. That's why A union B, you have A, E, I, O, U as the elements, right? That is exactly equal to A. This is what actually we are asked to show. Pictorially, when you represent this in Venn diagram, you get a figure like this. Here, every element of set B is an element of set A, right? A, I, U are the elements of set B as shown here. They are elements of set A also. It means B is a subset of A, right? So what I can say now is, if B is subset of A, then A union B is going to be equal to A. Please note this. Since B is subset of A union B is going to be A. If A is subset of B, then A union B is going to be B. I hope you got the concept. Now let us learn about intersection of sets. Consider A equal to 2, 5, 6, 8 and B that has got elements 5, 7, 9, 1. In Venn diagram, you can show the given sets as shown here. 2, 6, 8 and 5 are part of A and 5, 7, 9, 1 are part of B, right? Set B. As you see here, 5 belongs to A and B also, right? So you can say that 5 is common to set A and set B. The elements that are common to set A and set B is denoted as A intersection B. It is symbolically written as shown here, A intersection B. This particular symbol, which is looking like N or inverted U, is called intersection symbol. This is read as A intersection B. A intersection B can be written in the set builder form as shown here. X colon, X belongs to A and X belongs to B. You take a note of this. Here we are saying and. It has to, the intersection, A intersection B says that X has to belong to A and X has to belong to B also. It is and. When in the case of A union B, we said R, right? X belong to A or X belong to B. When you write, you say that that is A union B. When you write A intersection B, you say that X has to be part of A, meaning X belong to A and X belong to B. I hope you got the concept. Let's take a look at a problem on this concept. Find A intersection B when A is 5, 6, 7, 8 and B is 7, 8, 9, 10. We know that elements common to sets A and B are denoted as A intersection B, right? So A intersection B in this particular case is 7, 8. The set containing 7 and 8 as elements is called A intersection B. The reason is that 7 and 8 are common for both the sets A and B, right? When you draw a Venn diagram, it looks like this. You have A which has got 5, 6, 7, 8 and B which has got 7, 8, 9 and 10, right? The elements which are common to both A and B are 7 and 8. That's why that is A intersection B. So A intersection B, as I have already said, can be written in set builder form as X colon, X belongs to A and X belongs to B. Please note this. Now let's take a look at another problem. Consider A, the set containing elements 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and set B that contains 1, 6, 7, 8, 9 and show that number of elements in A union B equal to number of elements in A plus number of elements in B minus number of elements in A intersection B. In Venn diagram, you can write like this: 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are part of A. 1, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are part of B, right? Are the set elements of the set B. Now, A has got elements 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, meaning the total number of elements, if you count, you say that number of elements in set A equal to 5, right? B has got elements 1, 6, 7, 8, 9. So number of elements of B is also 5. Now let's write A union B. A union B says that it has to be X belong to A or X belong to B. X belong to A are going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? Or X belong to B when you say 1, 8, and 9, because these 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are part of A, and the remaining elements of B, when you exclude 6 and 7, the remaining elements are 1, 8, and 9, right? So A union B now can be written as 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are from A, and 1, 8, 9 from B. 6, 7 is common for both, but we include only ones. So now when you count, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So number of elements of A union B is 8. Now let's find A intersection B. A intersection B says that X has to be, X belongs to A and X belongs to B. The and is important here. It means 6 and 7 are only belong to A and A intersection B, right? So A intersection B can now be written as a set containing elements 6 and 7 as shown here. The number of elements of the A intersection B set is 2. Now we got values for all the terms in this particular expression: A union B, number of A, number of B, and number of A intersection B, right? So let's consider RHS or the right hand side term of the expression given, that is number of elements of set A plus number of elements of set B minus number of elements of A intersection B. When you substitute the values of all these and simplify, you get answer as 8, right? That is equal to number of elements of A union B. So RHS is equal to LHS, right? Hence we say that number of elements of A union B, that is n of A union B, equal to n of A plus n of B minus n of A intersection B. This is what we are asked to show, right? Let us now learn about disjoint sets. Consider set A containing elements 1, 3, 5, 7 and set B containing elements 2, 4, 6, 8. As you see here, Venn diagram of these two sets is shown as drawn here. Set A containing 1, 3, 5, and 7. Set B containing 2, 4, 6, and 8, right? If you observe, you can say that set A contains odd numbers smaller than 9, right? So in set builder form, you can write it as A equal to X colon X is an odd number smaller than 9. Similarly, for B, you can say that X colon X is an even number smaller than 9. You see, set A has got odd numbers and set B has got even numbers. It means they will have no common elements, right? Since no common elements present in A and B, A intersection B is going to be a null set, right? we know that A intersection B is the set containing common elements of two of the sets, right? In this particular case, A and B have got no common elements. It means A intersection B is going to be a null set, right? Hence, we say that A and B are called disjoint sets. Why disjoint sets? Because there is no joining between A and B in this particular case, right? So you can also say that disjoint sets have no common elements. If they have common elements, then set A and set B will be joining to each other, right? They will not be disjoint as shown here, right? I hope you got the concept. Let's solve a problem based on this. Are they disjoint sets? There are two sub-problems given. First problem is A is a set containing elements 2, 3, 4, 5 and B the set containing elements 3 and 6. We know that A intersection B, if it is a null set or empty set, then A and B are called disjoint sets. Or in other words, disjoint sets will have no common elements, right? Now let's see A intersection B of those two sets given. As you see here, 3 is common in both the sets, right? So A intersection B is going to be a set containing only one element, that is 3. Since it is not a null set or empty set, we can say that A and B are not disjoint sets, right? Now let's go to the next part. You're given C, which contains elements 2, 6, 10 and 14, and D, the set containing elements 3, 7, 11 and 15, right? Now if you observe, all these numbers are even numbers. All these numbers are odd numbers, right? So they have no common elements. Hence, we say that C intersection D is a null set or empty set. Hence, C and D are called disjoint sets. Please note this. Now let's learn about difference of sets. Consider set A containing elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and set B containing elements 4, 5, 6, 7. Difference of sets A and B is defined as set of elements belonging to A but not belonging to B. You see here, the elements should belong to A but not belong to B, right? Let's draw a Venn diagram. Here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as part of A and 4, 5, 6, 7 as part of B, right? The difference of sets A and B is denoted as A minus B. That says that the elements have to belong to the set A but not belong to B, right? A minus B can be written in set builder form as X colon X belong to A and X does not belong to B, right? It means 1 belong to A but that does not belong to B. 2 belong to A that does not belong to B. 3 belongs to A but that does not belong to B, right? When it comes to 4, 4 belong to A and 4 belong to B. So it is not meeting the second requirement. That's why 4 is not going to come here as part of A minus B. Same is true with 5, right? So A minus B is going to be the set containing elements 1, 2, 3. I hope you understood the concept. Now let's say the difference of sets B and A, that is B minus A, right? The set builder form for this can be written as X colon X belong to B and X does not belong to A. 6 belong to B and 7 belong to B. That does not belong to A, right? That's why we say that B minus A is the set containing elements 6 and 7, right? When you observe A minus B and B minus A, you say that A minus B is not equal to B minus A, right? Please take a note of this. Let's take a look at a problem based on this concept. That is problem number 13. If A is the set containing elements 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 as shown here, and B containing elements 3, 6, 9, 12 and 15, find A minus B and B minus A. So you have 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 as part of A, and 3, 6, 9, 12 and 15 as part of B. 6 is common, right? So A minus B is going to be X belong to A and X does not belong to B, means those are going to be 2, 4, 8 and 10, right? They belong to A, but they don't belong to B. When it comes to 6, that is different, right? So that's why A minus B is going to be 2, 4, 8 and 10, right? Now let's find B minus A. B minus A can be written as X should belong to B and X should not belong to A. So in that case, 3, 9, 12 and 15 belong to B and they don't belong to A, right? That's why B minus A is going to be 3, 9, 12 and 15, right? When you observe A minus B and B minus A, you can say that A minus B is not equal to B minus A, right? I hope you got the concept. I hope you like the video. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel Learn to Score. Thank you.